Professor Sachs, I can see you. Can you hear me loud and clear?
I do.
Very good. I'm so happy to see you. I hope
Likewise.
you are well. And
Thank you.
I've managed to keep in my ballroom a handful number of people.
Thank you.
And we wanted to end our summit with a conversation with you that I would like to have this dialogue on 4 key fundamental pillars. The first one, Professor Sachs, is about looking at progress and responsibility and what all industry stakeholders need to do. And let me be precise and elaborate, because I would like to have a mapping between the technological development evolution and the sustainable development goal. So how do we map it? The idea is we are navigating as an industry through the evolution of technology, ranging from today 5G advance, LEO satellite. We had a session about non-terrestrial network on the space segment, AI. So the telecommunications sector at large, and today unlocking access to capital needs to have profitability, predictability, sustainability. But at the same time, we need to look at and theme our discussion around human, around consumer, about customer, depending where we stand from the value chain. So how do we strike a balance between the fast evolution of technological development and our attainment member state on the 17 SDGs? You have the floor, Professor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is so crucial because the telecoms and AI and ICT sector is the world's most dynamic sector technologically. Let me say first, we cannot achieve sustainable development without these technologies. These are absolutely our breakthroughs. Breakthroughs for connectivity, breakthroughs for more productivity, breakthroughs for more efficiency, breakthroughs for leapfrogging out of poverty. So we need the ICTs, AI across the board, whether it's in agriculture, whether it's obviously in manufacturing, production, but I would say in my sector, university sector, it's unquestioned. We cannot even provide a modern education without a high level of connectivity and without all of the tools that the digital world is bringing. So I would just say, in addition to customer, as you listed in that list, let's think of citizen, students, health patients, other sectors that are completely dependent on access to connectivity, access to AI systems, and so forth. I see the applications everywhere, in higher education, in telemedicine, in healthcare more broadly. The problem is, and this is where I'd like the industry's advice, how do we reach everybody? Not only those who right now are in middle class or above and can afford these services, but everybody that needs them. Because to my mind, the single most important issue is universal access. And what is the right model for that? What can industry do? What should government do? How should we integrate platforms into the education sector, into the health sector, into the agriculture sector, into the urban infrastructure design? And here we need the industry to help guide this process, to say these are the things we can do, these are the places where we need government to do it. It can't only be for customers, I just want to add, because customers are great, you need them, they're a source of profit, they're a source of business, but it needs to be for citizens. This needs to be a universal access to carry the whole society forward. And I'm thinking, of course, of in your neighborhood, you're right now in Dubai, in the region that will be the hub for so much of Africa, so much of South Asia, so much of Central Asia. So how do we accomplish this universality? That's my question almost every time we meet at the Broadband Commission and elsewhere.
Yes, Jeff, thank you for reminding that. And let me tell you, the whole day, throughout the roundtable that we've been having here, the willingness is there. But it's on purpose that I have mentioned the term responsibility. Now, if we talk about responsibility, we talk about accountability. Just very quickly on that point, is it a matter of courage, or we have not redefined the role of each stakeholders to be able to take the leadership, to be able to own the task? That's why I was mentioning about responsibility. Just very quickly on that.
Yeah, I think it is a matter of design, by the way, more than anything. I think people want to be responsible. They want to lead. It's not easy. You're in a sector that's both technologically extraordinarily dynamic, but also regulated, complicated. The financing is complicated. It's not just a wish list. We need plans. I say to governments all the time, what is your plan to make sure that every school is online? Well, they don't have plans like that. I don't know what the budgets are. I don't know what the financing needs for that are. I want to help the implementation. So I want governments to say to the industry, look, we need connectivity, 5G for the following, for our agriculture sector, our mining sector, our manufacturing, our schools, our clinics, our payment system, our budgeting and transfer payment system. Okay, help us to make that platform and to ensure connectivity, even in that distant northern region or in the mountain regions or in the other places. Governments do not know how to do that in general. For industry, it's also a little bit out of the usual because industry knows where to go for the customer base. But I think we're trying to push the universality of this absolutely vital network. India has had some wonderful experience in this from what I can see in the last 10 years. I think Aadhaar, the universal ID, became a base for an incredible spread to hundreds of millions of people who were outside of the digital economy and now are completely integrated into it. I see Africa needing that and being able to achieve that in the next 10 years. But I think it's a matter of defining what each segment should be doing. And this isn't about charity, it's about a business model that can really make sense.
I like what you are saying, and you have offered your help, and I'm very grateful about that. Now, let's push a little bit more, and if there is help, let's discuss very quickly on setting the stakeholders' priority. We are today in a very complex environment, backed by, as you know, more than anyone else, geopolitical tension, economic disparities, environmental concern. How should the telecommunications sector set priorities and strategies to effectively leverage the ICT for economic development? And of course, economic development means reaching a scale by connecting the unconnected, as you have mentioned. I'm talking about the priorities.
Let me say one thing about geopolitics to start, because
a little bit, not too much. A little bit, not too much.
Yeah, the telecom sector is a sector of connectivity. It connects. The geopolitics is right now aiming at disconnect, which I don't agree with. I would like the telecom sector to say to all of the governments, we don't want to choose sides. We want to connect people. We want to connect countries. And I don't want any part of this industry or society or being bad-mouthed in this. I'm an American. I'm a huge fan of Huawei, for example, just to put it on the table. Such a good company. I don't
I
want
think Huawei
a
is in
break.
the room. They should give you a round of applause.
Yes. I don't want a break in global connectivity. So what I want the telecom sector to express to governments is don't make false divisions. Let's connect the world. That's my bottom line on geopolitics.
Thank you very much for that. Third point before coming to the end, let's talk about the human centricity, the consideration about the technological advancement. Now, of course, there is a potential through technology to reshape, to have societal structure reshaped. We have a growing discourse on ensuring that technology remain human-centric. Now, from your perspective, do you believe that the current effort made by the ICT sector are sufficient to achieve a true human centricity? And what would be the step that we should take as leaders of the industry to ensure that the emerging technology, and I'm referring to generative AI or the metaverse, are developed and deployed in ways that genuinely will meet human needs and promote inclusivity at large?
It's, of course, a very complicated topic and would take us a long time for the rich discussion that we need. But there are three problems that I would think are quite obvious. First, naturally, technologies are mobilized for commercial gain. Second, technologies are mobilized for military gain. Third, technologies are understood only by a very few people. The rest of us don't really know how anything works. And so it's very hard to have true democratic governance of any of these technologies, not only the ICTs, but biotechnology, nuclear technology. We're in an engineers-led world. In which very few people really can even understand or know what's going on. So all of that raises a lot of difficult questions that would, again, take us a long time to discuss, but let me make a couple of points. First, we really need a directed effort not only at autonomous weapons or at AI for the military issues and so on, which is obviously happening, but we need, what about AI for basic education? What about AI for the public health sector? What about AI for financial inclusion of poor people? In other words, each of those requires a very directed, thoughtful effort, demonstration projects, some expensive programming and design, engagement with the universities, and so on. So this is one basic point, which is it takes work to apply these remarkable technologies. When it comes to making money, the work gets done. When it comes to weaponizing, the work gets done by our military establishments. But when it comes to public education, the work doesn't necessarily get done. Or when it comes to telemedicine, the work doesn't necessarily get done. So we need, again, inclusivity and thoughtfulness in all of the incredible areas where these technologies are fundamental. Also, I would say smallholder agriculture, the same way. These are poor people, but boy, can they benefit from these technologies. So we need to direct efforts in that way. The second and harder point is we need to demilitarize these technologies as much as possible. I've heard, our generals talk about, we're going to win the AI arms race. I don't want an AI arms race. I'd like AI for peaceful, sustainable development, not for ever more clever autonomous weaponry, which we're seeing actually as it's being developed, and even generational changes in the battlefield in Ukraine right now. So we have to be very clear about the public purpose of this incredible breakthrough class of technologies, which could absolutely be fundamental for sustainable development, but we have to choose to make it so.
Yeah, I agree. We have lots of food for thought, and it deserves to give a deeper dive into that subject. Last one, Professor Sachs, I don't want to keep you too long. As a way forward, and now I am calling upon you as a colleague at the UN Broadband Commission. I have some other commissioners in the room, and I'm conveying you their regards. As an economist also, you have a broad view of the impact of strategic financial initiative on digital connectivity. And as you know, and you supported me when we have launched our innovative financing model, and we came up with a universal financial framework that has been debated today in Dubai for broadband development across the developing nations. What indicators we need measurement? What indicators should we monitor to evaluate early successes? I'm looking for benchmark, blueprint, or needed adjustment. So what advice would you offer to ensure that this initiative aligns with the Sustainable Development Objective and deliver tangible benefits to all stakeholders which are involved in the value chain?
Thank you. Thank you for your leadership in this area. I think there's one measure which is absolutely the core, which is what is the cost of capital that faces low-income countries or lower middle-income countries in accessing these technologies or more generally SDG-related technologies. The basic point and the basic failure of the international financial system right now is that rich countries get capital at maybe 3 or 4% nominal. Upper middle income countries, maybe 7% nominal. Low income countries, 15% interest if you look at a euro bond or you look at the effective yields. This is impossible to have the system so tilted against the low and the lower middle income countries. And this is the fundamental reform that's needed of the global financial architecture, not to accept that as a given so that capital flows to those who already have it, but we need long-term capital flowing to those who urgently need it, whether it's for ICTs, 5G, zero carbon energy deployment, and so forth, because all of these are capital intensive, and therefore their cost depends fundamentally on the cost of capital to access this capital intensive technology. I have a lot of thoughts I want to share with you in detail about this, but this is the work I'm doing with the Secretary General, with the Deputy Secretary General, Amina Mohammed, with the UNFCCC. We can lower the cost of capital. We can make it more accessible because these risk premia are not right, they're not accurate, they're not fair. Because let me just end by saying it is actually Africa, South Asia, and other lower income countries that have by far the highest growth potential in the world over the next 20 years. By far, if we get this right. It's not true that these are the riskier places in the world. These places have the best growth potential of any place in the world, but they need the long-term capital to achieve that growth potential.
Well, when I'm hearing that, I would love to ask you a favor, Professor Sachs, is probably to lower the cost of capital. That should be something that I am sure there is a way to put it on the agenda of the G20, which is going to be hosted in Brazil. We will be delighted to work with you on that. Thank you very much, Professor Sachs. And you will not leave us without hearing this very warm round of applause that you deserve from our friends and colleagues. And looking forward to welcoming you in the future in Dubai. Keep well. Absolutely. And take care of yourself. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you, Professor Sachs.
Thank you.